Squatch-D TV, where the legends and stories come to be. SP, Chris, they host on that show, bringing you Bigfoot news, yo. Oh yeah. Squatching in the woods, catching all the clues. Oh yeah. Digging deep to bring you all the news. From sightings to footprints, it's all in the light. Stay tuned to Squatch-D, it's out of sight.
And good evening, cyberspace. Welcome to the Bigfoot News, episode 7 for today's date, March 1st, 2024. I'm your host, your guide, maybe even the guru, but who knows? Along with my co-host right down there, the real guru, Mr. Chris.
Steve, how you doing, man? Before we start out today, I want to say happy birthday to my good friend John Gray. Today's his birthday.
Well, happy birthday,
I wanted to give him
John.
a little shout out there because I've known him since I was 4 years old. And that's been a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, yesterday was my son's birthday.
Yeah.
Good old Forest Ranger Steve. And so what a flippin' week this has been, folks. What a week. If I seem like I'm a little low on the gas, I am. And we'll explain in a little bit.
Well, we had some rainy weather, then a little warm weather, then rainy again. And
well, we had a little bit of a cold snap.
Yeah.
And now it's starting to warm up again. Tomorrow it's supposed to be in the high 40s, and then Sunday in the high 50s, and
great. Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday in the 60s, and then it's going to go back down to the 40s. But the thing is that the winter has kind of lost its punch right now, and we're going to hope that it stays that way for our part of the country.
Yeah, I had to do some driving this week, which is odd for me because I hardly ever drive. But I noticed the coolant level was low on my Hummer, so I'm kind of worried about that. I don't understand why it's only got like 360,000 miles on it, or almost.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah, that's it. It's just getting broken in.
I know.
Shouldn't be having any issues out of it this early.
You know, that's more than 10 times around the globe.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess that's pretty close. Yeah. It's got quite a few miles on it.
Because the world's circumference is about 25,000 miles.
Yeah.
So it's got more than 10.
Oh, yeah. I'm no joke. It's almost, it's 350-some thousand, almost 360,000. It's got one of those weird 5-cylinder engines, not 4, not 6, but 5.
Huh.
And it's kind of weird. But, I'm not, one to put off a vehicle just because it's got a few miles on it. We drive them till the wheels drop off, and then we put the wheels back on and drive them some more.
It's got, it almost has as many miles as my ex-wife.
It's further than the moon. 296,000 miles, something like that, or to the moon, or something like that.
No, I
remember 246,000.
Hey, this is a Bigfoot show, not a show on astronomy. How am I supposed to know?
And let's see. Is the chat room hopping yet? Who we got in here? It's a little bit early. But...
Sure is.
Oh, yeah.
So let's get on with the roll call. First in tonight was Relic Commenting, who said, "Have a great show. Right. We'll watch it the day after as usual." Well,
it's going to replay, Relic. Welcome, buddy. Appreciate you listening.
Lester Taylor. Lester has been trying to be first for so long. And he wrote today, 103 minutes early and still not first. And then Don comes in afterwards. He goes 102 minutes.
103 minutes and still not first. Okay. Lester, man, I appreciate the effort. You get an A for effort, buddy. We love you. And Don, you too. Appreciate it.
And we got Walter Kroll in here, Mitch Hargrove. Little Kilroy was here.
Little Kilroy.
Hey, Tennessee Cherokee in. Mick is in the house.
Hey, Mick.
Bristol is in the house. Hello, Bristol. Angel Nolan. Hello, Angel. Pete H. Good to see you. Bron, hey, it's John. Bron Age John. That's our good buddy from Ohio. John, good to see you.
Good to see you. Yeah, man. Welcome.
Martin Stilts in here. Hello, howdy to you, sir.
Martin.
Outback Orchard. Good to see you, sir. My good friend from Vermont.
Good to see you out back.
So, and who else is talking?
Lester's got a HHR with 357,000. Hey man, we're pretty much on the same deal here, Lester.
Right.
I might have to get out and drive some more now.
And those are the only people that are talking tonight.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, we want to say hello to everybody that's lurking too. We appreciate it.
That's right. Yes, absolutely. And so I went out of work this week with a back injury.
Oh man,
Kind of strained my back on a patient. Had to go home. And then for people who haven't been following, well, you know what? We're going to do that in a little bit because I don't want to give away the main event of the night, I guess. And I guess that is the main event of the night.
Yeah.
But yeah, it certainly has been a very interesting week. I will say this. I am investigating a Bigfoot sighting that occurred in Ulster County, New York, back on February 25th, just 6 days ago. And the story kind of goes like this, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, was the gentleman was an EMT, and he was going in to hike into this wooded area, and he heard what he thought was a scream. So he starts going towards the scream. Being an EMT, thought somebody may have been hurt.
Yeah, sure.
And as he's walking, what he describes as a 9-foot, black, long-haired, upright creature stepped out from behind a tree, looked at him, and started to walk away.
Wow.
And the way he said it was, he goes, I froze because just in case somebody was hurt, but I froze. And the thing kept looking back at him as he was walking away. As it was walking away, it kept looking back at him. Yeah. And then once it got out of sight, he goes, I turned around and tore ass out of there, got in my truck and left.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah. So
9 feet tall. That's a whopper. That's getting up there. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I will say the guy is a firefighter.
Yeah.
And yeah, there it is. Hi, Pookie. But yeah, so I'm trying to get a hold of him, and we'll see if he actually connects. But he did leave a bunch of good directions to where the incident had occurred. So depending on how I'm feeling Sunday, I may take a drive down there. I may wait till next week. Yeah. Got to get the back in shape, I suppose.
Yeah. And Steve, happy birthday. If the old man didn't tell you that I told him to say happy birthday from me, happy birthday.
That's right, Junior. Happy birthday. Lester says, dang, underwear ain't cheap no more.
Well, you kind of get if you have a sighting on one of these things, I don't know how everybody reacts, but it's not something that you'd care to do every day. I mean, even if you're a Bigfoot researcher, I don't think you'd want to see one every day because it's kind of life changing.
Well, I think after you see him every day, you'd start to get used to him. Just ask the Sasquatch whisperer.
Yeah. That's hard to believe people could do that. I don't really think they can.
No. But anyway, Chris, you got an article, I think.
Yeah. I was running across the internet. Of course, there's not been a whole lot of brand new stuff out. Articles about Bigfoot, and Steve and I were talking about it, and a lot of the stuff, even if it's put out like a day or two ago, it's just recycled. And it's really difficult to find something good and nice to talk about. But I did run across one that I enjoyed, and this was from Fox 12 Oregon, and dated February 2nd, 2024, so from around about almost a month ago now. But the title is Nebraska Woman Calls Herself the Bigfoot Lady. And it shows a very nice elderly woman here, and she's in the Bigfoot research. Nebraska KPTV Harriet McFeely takes people for walks on what she calls the weird side at the Bigfoot Crossroads of America Museum and Research Center.
Chris?
Yeah, bud.
What was her last name?
McFeely.
Is that
McFeely?
Speedy delivery. Speedy
delivery. Harriet McFeely. Yeah. I didn't catch that until you said. She says, anyway, I like to, sorry about getting sidetracked. I like
Oh, no.
what did I miss? Hang on, I can't see the chat.
My platypus tails are falling flat.
Oh my God. Trackway, that's terrible, man. Oh, that was worthy of Ralph's rating there. Oh. Trackway's killing me.
I thought that was pretty good, actually.
Oh, okay. All right. Back to speedy delivery.
You can tell this is not a professional newscast.
Yeah.
Far from it.
I like to show them our Nebraska map because all these red pins are sightings of Bigfoot, and a lot of them you can see. A lot of them you can see a lot of them around here. Okay, I don't know
Start
whether
counting them. One.
basing this or what. Anyway, the museum is made up of 3 buildings. The main structure features the bone room, where people can see casts of footprints and replicas of ancient skulls. The bone room. I think I went to a club that had one of those. She said,
did it come with a little umbrella in it with the drink? Olives, maybe? Sorry. I'm being very disruptive today.
That's like mirror. It came with fresh sheets. But she said animal bones found along the Platte River have odd spiral breaks. McFeely believes Bigfoot is to blame. So, a spiral break. I wonder if she means like a twisting motion break.
Probably, yes.
They're not 100% Bigfoot, but I think in my heart somehow they are related. Who knows what they're going to learn in the next 10 years even. That's true. She adds that the twisted arcs, and braid horses'
hair. Oh no!
Oh my God!
Not the fairy knot.
She adds that the twisted arcs and braid horses' tails in Nebraskan forests may be Bigfoot related as well. Well, she doesn't come right out and say that. She says it may be. She's not really
But to even put that in the same equation,
I get you. Yeah, I'm with you. But
it's like Bigfoot. It's like friggin' Bigfoot's Tarzan in the woods. Oh, hello, all animals. Oh, you're my friends.
McFeely said, rumor has it Bigfoot tore an American flag to strips in Garrison, Nebraska on Memorial Day in 2020. The flag is braided exactly like these pieces of horsehair, she said. Oh. So McFeely logs these events and sightings in her book. It's in the Library of Congress and the State Darwin Museum in Moscow, Russia. In the next building, she said, most famous Bigfoot resides. This is Patty, and she's the one you always see. You know, she's walking along like this. I suppose she does an imitation of Patty walking. The furry figure caught on film in the 60s has become the universal symbol for the Sasquatch. McFeely hiked along Bluff Creek, where she said the figure was spotted. She said ever since she was a kid, she has been fascinated by Bigfoot. Started when I was 8 years old. That picture with that footprint, that's what started me. McFeely continues to follow her passions of anthropology and legends. She's also working on exhibits about other cryptids and researching giants.
And her husband works for the U.S. Post Office.
I give them the facts. They can read it or see it or whatever, and then they can make up their own mind. I like that. I felt like I accomplished my goal. I made them curious, and I like that. Okay, well, I can agree with that. That was a nice piece, but when she starts talking about the flag was torn up and braided like a horse tail, and Bigfoot's giving putting dreadlocks in horses or something, I can't go that far. But you know what? She said she is also into researching giants. So you remember somebody else that was talking about braiding horses' hair, and that
well, we have
Nephilim or
we have
Nephilim.
good old Dr. Ketchum
Mm,
saying, "Oh, it braids the horse's hair," which goes back to fairies' knots, devil's knots. They were talked about in the 1800s over in the UK. They thought witches were doing them or fairies were doing them or
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So that's nothing Bigfoot related. That's actually very natural. And you can ask any horse vet. They will say that's very common with them. Yep. Janice Carter said that as well. And MK and Gatewood are saying Patty braided her hair. Okay.
Patty got dreadlocks.
Yeah. So I have a little issues with that. And that's,
Okay.
and Chris, you made a great comment earlier.
Sorry. Yeah.
And that is, we are looking at a lot of stuff in the Bigfoot news that have recirculated stuff. Like, I don't know, like I think it was a couple of weeks ago for Bigfoot News 5.
Right.
One of the stories was, oh, Bigfoot seen on a Colorado train.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw that.
And it was dated like,
yeah. 4 days ago, stuff like that.
Yeah.
They just keep recycling it. And sometimes, I thought, well, wait a minute, I've seen this before. And then I look at another. No, it's a different author from a different website, but it's basically the same story that's just been reworded a little bit. So it kind of makes me wonder if these guys aren't getting a little lazy.
They are getting very lazy. And guess what? They're doing no search on it. Like, I sent a message to the woman who put the story about the Mississippi skunk ape video.
Yeah.
And she's acting like she talked to Josh Highcliffe.
Oh, well.
And she didn't. I know she didn't because I've seen the same article just with a little changing of the wording in other articles as well.
Well, maybe she talked to him while he was on the TV. She talked to the TV. I do that sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And of course,
don't go in there. Turn off the light.
No media has ever responded to a mistake. Never. Never. I remember in the famous one, obviously, was the old, Roger Patterson admitted on his deathbed that Patterson Gimlin film was fake.
Yeah.
I was like, no.
Really chaps me.
And then his family found car footprints in his garage. That was Ray Wallace.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they get their stories all confused. They mix them up and little bits and pieces there and just make it up as they go, I guess.
But you're right.
Steve, you're scripted. Hey, Steve. Good to see you, man.
Hey, what's up?
But yeah, they mix up their stories because
No, yeah, Steve goes. So you see any horse vet will tell you Bigfoot praise things. No, I'll tell you that it's a natural occurrence.
But yeah, I heard some of her ideas. I've heard those before. So and like she came out in the article and she said, "Well, I'm not saying it is Bigfoot, but it is
right
possible." Which I don't. You can't say it's not possible. I mean, it's possible a 747 could land in my front yard, I guess.
Probably crash land in your front yard.
Yeah. I'll be going out the back door if that happens.
Reminds me of the scene from
possible, just not like.
Remember that scene from the War of the Worlds, the one with Tom Cruise, where the plane comes down in the front lawn.
Yeah, it landed there, didn't it?
Yeah. So.
But I thought it was good. You can tell by looking at her. She's an elderly lady, and she's been doing this since she was 8 years old. And by looking at her, that's probably about 60 years or so, or maybe 70. Right. So interesting.
So, any other good news articles for the week you got, Chris?
Oh, well, let's see. Get rid of the big.
And then I have a few items, but they're all.
Well, I found a couple more that I thought was interesting, and it's not, there's no Bigfoot sightings in these or nothing, but it's for like any of our listeners in West Virginia. We could do every West Virginia Monster Festival in 2024 that gives you dates and times. Or I've got another one about 5 audiobooks will change your mind about Bigfoot. This is from the Seattle Times.
Let's hear that one. Let's see what their 5 picks are.
Yeah, this one I found over at the Seattle Times, and this is dated November 23, but it's still got some good information in it. And it says these five audiobooks will change your mind about Bigfoot. The first one they have listed is In the Valleys of the Noble Beyond, In Search of the Sasquatch by John Zeta.
Who the hell was John Zeta?
John Zeta, I don't know.
Okay, so now, you know what I'm thinking, Chris?
I've never heard of John.
I think this list is going to be a bunch of bullshit, probably put out by the publisher of the books.
Oh,
That's
no,
my
it's
thought.
different. It's different ones. Different ones.
All right.
Yeah, they got different authors. But it says, anyway, it said, do you believe in Bigfoot? Even the staunchest Sasquatch skeptics will develop a new appreciation for our region's most galvanizing and controversial cryptid after listening to these thoughtful audio books. True Bigfoot believers and fans will also gain insight into the nature of their obsession. Whether as myth, mammal, or metaphor, this much is incontrovertible. Bigfoot is real and really interesting.
Okay.
This is a quote from the book of In the Valleys of the Noble Beyond, In Search of Sasquatch. She is a blur of rippling brown fur and beady eyes set in a wide head. I stand there looking at everything blankly, not understanding, trying to process what is going on and how it came to pass. No, this gripping episode in John Zeta's In the Valley of the Noble Beyond, In Search of Sasquatch does not document an encounter with one of the gigantic man-apes rumored to haunt misty and remote recesses of British Columbia's Great Bear Forest. More predictably, he's facing off with a great bear about to charge. Well, what are you talking about? Bigfoot, a bear in a Bigfoot.
Now you see, there is the rush of anthropocentrism.
Mm-hmm. So it's
giving the bear human-like qualities.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Next book.
That one's probably not going to be that great. Okay, the next one.
Hold on. Hold on.
Oh, let me click back to the chat.
Hold on. Ralph, what do you think? Okay, so Ralph rolled that one not so good. All right, next book.
Yeah.
Next book.
Okay, the next one is Where Bigfoot Walks, Crossing the Dark Divide. Robert Michael Pyle brings the hunter closer to home.
Now that's an old one.
Yeah, this is kind of an older article.
And here's the funny thing. There is a documentary now on Hulu about Robert Pyle and his encounter with Bigfoot. I caught some of it, but it's really like an avant-garde type of film where it jumps around. And I was tired, so I'm sitting there waiting for the wife to come home from work. I worked my tail off that day, and I was like, so I got to rewatch it, but because I missed all the Bigfoot parts.
One of those type where you have to pause it before you leave the room to get a drink of water or something, because if you don't, when you come back, he's like, well, this is a completely different story. What's going on?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it does a lot of flashbacking and jumping. So a little tough to follow. And I don't mind a brief period of a flashback, but when you're doing it throughout the movie, it gets kind of like, come on. I just want to hear this straightforward.
Brain starts overheating.
Yeah. Some days you just want to watch a movie for the enjoyment and just go, and other times you don't want to I got to think about this too much. I
like the documentaries, but this is going to be an audio book, so anybody could put it on while they're trying to relax or something. It'd be interesting. I like audio books too. Anyway, Robert Michael Pyle brings the hunt closer to home, hiking alone across the Indian Heaven Wilderness area of southwestern Washington, or as normal people say, Washington, with both butterflies and Bigfoot on his mind. Interspersed with the veteran nature writer's keenly observed descriptions of the dense backcountry and impregnable lava fields where Bigfoot is rumored to hide, Pyle surveys our species' perennial fascination with some wilder version of ourselves, citing sources that range from Gilgamesh and Beowulf to zany tabloid journalism. Pyle tracks our obsession down to the current day, profiling the major players of Bigfootology, with wry yet respectful detachment, well conveyed through the convincingly seasoned narration of Adam Barr. Anyway, he must narrate books for people. I'll also express his admiration for what I agree is far and away the best fictional treatment of Bigfoot, Molly Gloss, historical novel Wildlife, for which unfortunately no audio version exists today. So that might be an interesting book, and I might check into that. There's one more paragraph. I'll go ahead and read that one. Perhaps surprisingly, given his skepticism as a trained scientist, Powell invites us to remain open-minded about Bigfoot. If only as a symbol of that faith in the sanctity of wilderness and of the enduring sense of wonder that has informed his own life's work in conservation. Both Zeta and Powell leave us with deeper and better informed appreciation for the sublime mystery lying at the heart of the Bigfoot phenomena. And again, that one's called, it's Where Bigfoot Walks, Crossing the Dark Divide by Robert Michael Powell.
Okay, so the movie is on Netflix. And
It has a movie.
Yes, and it's called The Dark Divide.
Okay. Wow. Well, maybe, maybe watch the movie. Let's see what they did.
Yep.
I'm going to check it out.
It wasn't bad. I mean, but it's very, come on, it's a movie about an entomologist whose specialty is butterflies.
Yeah.
And, his wife is dying of cancer, and he goes off on this trek. And on kind of a wing and a prayer. He's not prepared for it. He's ill prepared for the trek. Yeah. And people even in the general store were going, "You're what? And do you have a tent? Do you have it? Do you have it? No." So you got to watch it. But
how long was he gone? Like
I don't. Yeah, Chris, I fell asleep.
Oh, I'm sorry. I watched it.
I didn't see the whole. I saw like the first 45 minutes of it. I was tired.
Well, I'm real good about. I'll give a movie 15 minutes, and if it doesn't have me hooked in 15 minutes, it's kind of like with a book. If you're not hooked in the first 15 pages, you're not going to be interested.
Yep. Okay, what's our next selection? So we're down 2 books now out of 5.
Yeah. The next one is Animal Planet: Finding Bigfoot. Everything you need to know.
Okay, we can gloss over that one. Everybody knows about that one.
Yeah, it's really brief. It's for younger listeners. Okay, yes. It's a kid's book.
Correct.
Younger listeners can find a simplified mix of skepticism and enthusiasm in Finding Bigfoot, a tie-in with the popular Animal Planet series written by local author Martha Brockenbrough. And read with youthful gusto by Cliff Barrickman. So old buddy Cliff is in this one. Swift and captivating bite-sized chapters allow listeners to indulge in all the fun of Bigfoot speculation and spookiness while offering painless lessons in biology and scientific method along the way. So that sounds pretty good. And if Cliff is part narrating this book, that would be good. But now remember we had Cliff on before the first show of Finding Bigfoot premiered.
So I have to admit, I've already listened because I have an Audible account.
Yeah.
And I actually listened to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. It was very, it was very simplistic. It's made for kids. You can tell it's driven towards the
younger audience.
The younger audience. But very well written, read by Cliff.
Yeah, and if you've got like the Audible or the where you can get like so many free books a month, audio books, sure, why not give it a listen?
And I'm actually reading another book by not a Bigfoot book. I'm actually listening to another book which is read by the author who's relatively famous. Yeah. And man, he has a lot of times you would think that there would be more emphasis. Like if I was doing an audio book on my own stuff, I'd be like, yes, and the Sasquatch, I'd be right. But it's very monotone. But Cliff does a very great job during this. You can tell.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Cliff was a lot of fun when he was on the show. We've had him a few times too, but nice guy. Okay, next one. Next one's called Being a Human. Adventures in 40,000 Years of Consciousness. Yeah, doesn't say anything about Bigfoot in there. Okay, anyway. Perhaps the most profound meditation on why Bigfoot matters to us comes from a book that makes no mention of Bigfoot phenomena at all. In Being the Human, Adventures in 40,000 Years of Consciousness, philosopher and veterinarian Charles Foster takes a long view of human nature, holding up our species' relatively brief status as farmers and settlers against our much longer tenure as nomadic hunters and gatherers.
And guess what?
Let's have Ralph on that one.
No, I've actually listened to that one.
All right.
I've actually listened to that one.
Well, 5 Bigfoot books. No, wait. It doesn't say that. It says these 5 audio books will change your mind about Bigfoot.
Yeah.
So that one's not about Bigfoot at all?
No.
Okay.
It's about Homo sapiens.
Mm-hmm.
And, I got to say that one was really interesting because it kind of gave me a whole new perspective that, we think that modern man is the one that destroys all the animals and stuff like that. No, it's been going on since Homo sapiens have been here.
Right. Well, some of the, in earth science, some of the categories of classes you had to take were geography and geology. And one of them I remember was human geography. And it was a really good course. That puts you back about when civilization first began, how we went from hunter-gatherers to started raising crops and stuff like that.
Well,
so I can see it's interesting.
And in high school, I majored in lunch with a minor in study hall.
Oh, our lunch wasn't that great, man. I remember they had the soybean burgers.
Hey, I came from a tough school. We wanted to teach the law of gravity. We threw the teacher out the window. Anyway.
Oh, man. Okay.
Hang on. All right, so I did that one to myself.
Okay. All right.
Next week we can't have Ralph on at all. He's made far too many appearances in this episode already.
He's been a big part of this episode. Okay, is this the last one? Yes, okay. We got to the last one. Here we are. The last one is called Being a Beast by Charles Foster. Building on the fascinating thought experiments at the heart of his previous book, Being a Beast, Foster attempts to imagine his way back into the mind of our undomesticated human selves as they were in the upper Paleolithic, physically and behaviorally identical to us, but radically divergent in life ways and worldview. Now, this is going to be about another book about human geography. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and read the last paragraph here. It says, Enter Bigfoot. Might not our persistent attraction to some untamed wild man of the forest spring from the ancestral memory or intuitive sense of all that we lost or traded away when we audaciously set ourselves apart from nature? Whether as devout belief or fond wish, our hearts understand what our rationality rejects. Bigfoot is us.
Dun, dun, dun.
We are Bigfoot.
Well,
okay.
let me. I don't mind audiobooks. In truth, I have 7 books on criminal profiling, and I also got the audio copies as well. Yeah. And the reason why is memory refreshment a lot of times, and then I have the hard copy books, which I read first. And then I listen to it. So then it's really invested in the head. And so, I mean, if you got a drive to do and something like that, pop in an audio book.
Sure.
Learn something.
Feed your head.
Right. You feed your imagination. Even if you're listening to fiction, feed your imagination.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But, the books I tend to buy are usually, I don't buy much fiction. Yeah. The new James Patterson, book. You know, it's like, okay, cool. James Patterson has some really good material, but I like watching it on the big screen, like the Alex Cross series and stuff. Along Comes the Spider, Kiss the Girls, stuff like that.
I used to love the James Axler Deathland series.
Right.
Awesome.
Right. But for the most part, I listen to audiobooks to learn real quick.
Right.
Yeah. Because, you know, I've described that there's three types of people. There's the seers, the listeners, and the feelers. And the biggest group are the seers. Those are the ones that always look at you when they talk to you. Yeah. I tend not to do that because I'm a listener.
Yeah.
You know, I may be looking for something and you can talk and I'm understanding you 1,000%. It's not I'm ignoring you. And that can irritate some people that think the only way, and you got to understand, you got to make people learn the different types of people, the three different, and then, I think it was like something like 65% of the people are seers. The 20% are listeners and the rest are feelers. Those are the people that when they talk to you, they always got to put their hand on you. How you doing today? How are you? Are you okay? You know, those type of, you know, they're the people that, so so if you're a listener, audiobooks are great,
right? Because
I can learn from hearing. That's why in school, I never studied. I just would sit there and listen, and I didn't need to take notes. I just listened and I absorbed. Unless it was a really sucky subject like physics or math. Anyway, I was a science guy and a history guy.
Well, this last audio book guy sounds like this guy's probably one of the fellows over at International Skeptics, because he's got that same idea that's often discussed there, that people feel that, oh, Bigfoot is us, or it's some distant ancient memory that we've had from where, you know, we were sharing the earth with other species of hominids, very, you know, what's it? It's Denisovan people.
Denisovan, yeah.
What were they? They were part Homo sapien, Homo erectus, and part Neanderthal, I think is what it was. Yeah. But they think it's some sort of distant memory that the hairy guy in the woods. But I'll tell you what, you know, it may be a distant memory, but it's also a fresh memory too.
Yeah.
But they want to make out that Bigfoot is just the boogeyman, a made up story.
Right.
And, you know, if that's what it takes for him to get a good night's sleep, that's fine. But don't be shocked.
That's ridiculous. Because if we thought it was the boogeyman, everybody would be scared of Bigfoot.
Well, you know, and I tell everybody, you know, I don't try to talk anybody into believing into Bigfoot. No, you don't have to believe in Bigfoot.
Right.
Just wait. Just, you know, keep your mind open to the mystery. And when you have your first sighting, if you have a sighting, then you'll know.
Yep.
Then you'll know. And then you can just kind of laugh out of one side of your mouth at these skeptics that are, oh, there is no Bigfoot. Well, newsflash.
Yeah. So, I'll give you a new book that's going to be coming out in May of this year.
Oh, do I know the author?
I think you do, because it's almost finished.
Oh, good.
And the book is called The Psychology of Bigfoot. And so I'm hoping to have that finished by May.
Well, is it going to be? Well, obviously, can I ask you a few questions?
Ask me all you want. Yep.
You know, I can't help it, man. I've got the media hat on now since you've come out and told me this.
Yep.
I did not know this prior to the show, guys.
No, he didn't. I just swung that on him.
So since we know now, is this going to be a book about the Bigfoot researcher's mentality, or is it going to be how Bigfoot thinks? Give us a little background here.
It's going to be about a little bit of everything.
Okay.
From the Bigfoot researcher to the Bigfoot witness to the Bigfoot itself. And we talk about things such as the Dunning-Kruger effect, cognitive dissonance, and and a bunch of other things. I talk about sociopathy. I talk about psychopathy, or and the differences between the two, pointers on identification of such, but we can never classify because we're not professionals. I talk about why people believe the way they believe, why people hoax, but in a way, and stages of a hoax. And I'm not talking about 5 stages. This is all new, all brand new material, revamped. And it's got a lot more information in it than you could ever want. So you could use this as a guidebook. If you know this book and you hear somebody try to defend an argument, you could say that that's completely in the face of total evidence, total evidence. And they're denying evidence like we saw a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
You'll understand why.
Well, in the last one, I thought you had a really good section on the Bigfoot hoaxers, and the mentality of the hoaxer. And I thought that was really great information for a researcher.
But now it gets even better when you get the book. That was like the introductory, very brief introduction as to why. Right. But when I get into this book, we start to break everything down.
Mm-hmm.
And that is huge. When you start to understand why. I talk about the brain. I talk about the limbic system. I talk about psychological effects of PTSD. I talk about. I mean, it just covers everything so deep. And what it comes with is a lot of case studies.
Yeah.
And actual Bigfoot events. Okay, why did this happen? And I also have several real world events in there too, which show the effects of the same thing.
Yeah.
So
I think that'll be an interesting section on the PTSD, because that's something that a lot of people didn't realize, and you may not realize that you even have it until after the sighting. It's like, what's wrong with me?
Right.
Your brain plays tricks on you and everything else.
Absolutely.
Or getting paranoid.
Absolutely. And then, there's a whole nother section on mental defect that people could be, why people would say they see things when they do.
Right.
So, and why they could be hoaxing you, but still at the same time be completely innocent.
Yeah. They could actually be.
So that
Bigfoot is in the room with them now.
And it's kind of funny, and I will say this. I start off the book with the very simple sentence. Imagine the audacity.
Yeah.
The audacity of a person not formally trained in psychology technically. But however, because I'm a trained forensic interviewer.
Yeah. Well, you had some training in psychology.
And have arrested numerous people that I've had to interview.
Right.
I kind of got a grip on the psychology of that interview and why people say things and why they do things. Right. But we use actual psychology, actual data to put it all together. And by the end of the book, if you follow all the principles in the book, when you look at a Bigfoot story, you can go, does this really make sense?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the fun part of it.
Wow.
No, Ralph is not coming out for that one. That doesn't even deserve Ralph.
I saw I saw a platypus when he showed me his feet. It was just a web of light.
Yes.
Trackway. That's not bad. Just a web of lights. But the Dunning-Kruger, you see a lot of that on display, especially if you go over to the International Skeptics Forum, and they'll throw that around a lot about you, or to you. You've seen Bigfoot. Oh, that's the Dunning-Kruger effect. Okay.
Right.
Then you find them talking about, there is no Bigfoot because that's impossible.
And you're right, Alan. Absolutely. Psychology is a basic guide. When you hear a story that is completely wrong, psychologically, and that should give you the first. That should give you the first clue that what you're going to look at if a film or photo is not probably real.
Yeah.
Just think of that. The paranormal files where they put those things of the adult male with the little boy going, oh look, there's a Bigfoot and it's peeking around the tree. Oh my God, look at that. No fear, no nothing, and he has his own child next to him.
Yeah.
Not likely.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Yeah. Unless he don't. Maybe it was the neighbor's kid. It still doesn't matter if it was a neighbor's kid. He would have said, you get behind me, go back in the house, walk backwards into the house slowly. You can't help it. You can't help it. You see something big and scary. Well, that's a freaking monster. It's a monster. I mean, sure. Okay. Maybe, I don't know what they are, but they're not human. And you don't want that thing around your children. I wouldn't want them around mine.
Yeah, grass, no matter how you put it, if it's used properly, it can be a good guide at where things are going. Matter of fact, it was very rare in a forensic interview that I did where I was seeing a psychological factor or a neuro-linguistic factor or a body language factor that did not eventually end up not being true, because eventually the end goal of a forensic interview is to get the person to say, basically, all right, I'll write down what happened. Right. And be truthful about it. Or at least, you got to understand when people confess to things, they always lessen their moral implication of what they've done. That's why you have so many times, like in a homicide, somebody, these two guys will bust into a store and they'll rob somebody and they'll end up committing a homicide in the act. And you'll always have the one guy saying, I told him, he shot, he did it. He's the one who committed the homicide, but he was out of control and I told him not to do it. And I didn't want anything to do. And I was in fear of my life. See how they're minimizing their control. Yeah. The truth is probably they both went out of there and said, all right, let's split the money up and hopefully we won't get caught. That's the truth of it. But when they're in the interview room, they come up with all this, the word salad to kind of separate themselves and lower the,
each one of them tells the story. Oh, I didn't want to do
No, actually, Grass, you're wrong. Psychology is not a weapon. Okay. That's not a weapon.
Yes, it is. It's a weapon. Go over to International Skeptics. You'll see it's a weapon.
It's not. You know what it is bad interrogation technique is a weapon.
Yeah.
Leading questions are a weapon. Not once in forensic analysis or forensic interviewing do they ever train us to say, you did it this way, didn't you? They never tell us to do that. No. They never tell us to tip our hand at what we know. Right. All right. So what you're thinking is while people are using elements of some psychology, they're adding their own pieces and bits and thinking of what they're supposed to be doing. They're trying to play bad cop.
Right.
And the fact is when you do a forensic interview, there is no bad cop. There is no bad cop.
No, you try to make the guy feel at ease and get comfortable. Correct. And then he wants to talk to you because you're trying to help him get out of trouble. Yeah.
And truthfully, you never do a cold forensic interview without the evidence going into it. Like when I'm sitting across from somebody, say they stole $500 out of a cash register, I already know that. I already have the evidence of that. Yeah. I want them to get them to admit it so we can call it a day. Yeah. And Grass, I agree. I agree with that. He said generalizing interrogation methods doesn't negate what I said. It does, because if psychology is properly administered, it should not do that. And yes, I understand there was times when, and I don't want to get into the them trying to shut our monetization off. But
Yeah.
there was times when psychologists were talking to children and got them to admit a lot of things. And to me, you don't understand the psychology. That person never understood what we know now about the psychology of children is that they can be very suggestive.
Yeah.
Because think about the psychology of a child. They want to please the adults. So when they get interrogated, they want to please the adult and tell them what they want. Another thing that comes into common play as well is suggestive leading. And that happened in the case of Jason Miskelly with the West Memphis 3, where he admitted that they had actually it can be. It very well can be, but there's other things. There's other factors. When an adult becomes suggestive, it's because they've been interrogated for far too long, not given proper breaks, not given proper rest, so they become suggestive. There are ways, and believe me, I understand, trust me, interrogation methods. And let's not forget, one of the people in my training class was an Army intelligence officer. So I understand how it can lead to false, right? The whole idea is that we don't have that type of power necessarily. I don't. Or even when talking to a Bigfoot witness, I don't have that type of power to make them, to kind of lean on them enough to make them please me. The only time they do is either one, when they're children, because they're suggestive. They're very easily suggestive because, like I said, they want to please the adult. We got to please mommy and daddy, and this is an adult, and I got to please the adult. Or they have a lower IQ and they can be very suggestible. So,
yeah, and when you speak to a Bigfoot witness too, it's not
hold
like
on now,
giving them a third
grass.
degree.
You said if you admit to this, you'll get a lesser charge. That is not psychology. That is coercion.
Yeah, I know what
that is coercion.
About.
Yeah, that is coercion. That
He's
is
talking
not
about
psychology, right? That is illegal. That is not. Whoa, no. A cop is not even supposed to do that. Well, that can be coercion.
On police interrogations, though, they're allowed to lie to you. They can lie to you legally. They can lie to you in order to get a confession out of you. That's true.
But there's ethical lies, and there's not ethical lies. You know what an ethical lie is? An ethical lie is, well, we've conducted an investigation, and this is what we saw. We've seen people doing X, Y, and Z, right? Knowing that X is the crime they committed, right?
Right.
I may not have that, but it's perfectly okay to say we had that. Right. That's not coercion. Right. Coercion is when you say, listen, if you admit that you did this, I'll give you that. Right? That's coercion. Is saying that you're either going to get slammed, you're going to go to the slammer unless you admit to that. That's coercion. That is improper, unethical, and illegal. Yeah. And there have been many cases where such a comment was made to somebody that the confession was thrown out because of that.
Yeah. But this also
coercion is not psychological weaponry. We're talking not Alan. It's unethical. And every interrogation and interview class I told you I've taken, they have said not to do it. So don't say it's that is somebody playing God. And that's the basic thing to me. That is not part of an interrogation or anything I've ever done. So when you say that is insulting to me.
Though that police interrogations do tend to get a little bit unethical, Steve.
I'm not denying that. But what I'm saying is that's not part of any training. That's their own ad lib stuff.
Yeah.
That's not something. It's something that's always taught not to do. You do not coerce a witness. You cannot give the perception you're coercing them. That's all I'm saying.
Well, with when you're interviewing somebody that's a potential Bigfoot witness too, it's also not an interrogation. You're
Right.
just interviewing them and trying to get a feel
Right.
for what happened, what they
Right.
saw, what kind of person they are.
In fact, what I do, I don't even consider interrogation. Even when I was talking to the criminals, it's a
Right.
conversation.
Sure. Yeah.
It's nothing like. Now, there are times when you do have to switch.
Mm-hmm.
You have to turn that switch and say, well, where you're trying to be nice and try to lead them into this nice soft landing and admission,
Yeah.
and you have the evidence there in front of you.
Right.
All right, I have a video. There they are stealing the money. I'm looking to get their confession, and like I remember one where we actually knew she was stealing.
Yeah.
Every time she would cover that register, the till would show up short. So what we did was we audited the till before she went on.
Yeah.
She covered the lunch. We audited the till after she left, and it was $50 short.
Right.
Shortly thereafter, she went to the cafe in the store and she made a purchase. We got the bill she used. What she didn't know was we photocopied every single bill in the drawer. So we had the serial number, and she used one of the serial numbered bills in the drawer.
Oh.
So she was not admitting, no, and her, you understand, there are a lot of factors leading up to an interrogation or an interview.
But yeah, you don't want to. You got a Bigfoot witness, so you don't want to throw them under a light. It's
Right.
Third
Exactly.
degree.
Exactly. So what happens is a lot of times there are very soft ways of getting a reaction to somebody. And one of the things, and this is what I did to her, I said, if we catch the person taking money out of this drawer, what do you think we should do to that person? And her thing was like, head went down. Well, I don't know. Right.
No, you should just a little slap on the hand.
No, but that's the kind of reaction that you get from a person that's responsible.
Right,
so I'm you put these feelers out.
Right.
Because a person who was not guilty of the crime would be saying, lock the son of a bitch up.
Yeah, give him the chair. Go ahead.
Lock him up. Fire him.
Give him the
chair.
Her
reaction was, I don't know.
I don't know.
So, okay, now I have no doubts in my head. Okay, we got the physical evidence. I got the body, the read towards that question there. And I start talking to her, and then I said, and I talked to her. I go, you have any idea who may be responsible for this? And she said, I don't know. Right. And well, what would I tell you if we knew you did it? And she was like, I didn't do it.
Well, I think
so then I had to break out. All right, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I'm trying to give you an out and and I give them a bunch of good psychological reasons why they do something like that. I then from there I say, listen, and I put the photocopied sheet. We photocopied all the bills, and I pulled out the 20. You use this bill at lunchtime, and look, and what does that tell you? And I put the bill right under where it is. I said, listen, I'm not looking for whether or not you did it. I know you did it. I'm just looking for the why, and I hopefully it's for a good reason. And her head went down. She says, well, I'm behind in my rent. Okay. Done. No judgment passed. I understand. Not saying you're a bad person.
Well, with Grasshopper, Alan was saying a while ago, though, I think it kind of relates back to the Mr. Mike situation.
Yeah.
Where you get somebody, if he gets interrogated, then he can go wherever the wind blows him, wherever the interrogator wants to take it. He's like, yeah, okay, I did that. Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's something you got to recognize too.
Sometimes as far as a Bigfoot witness is concerned, sometimes I'll use a leading question to see if they agree with it readily.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I had this Bigfoot witness many years ago when I was asking him leading questions about a couple of things, and then I would let him elaborate on other things. And then I would go back and ask her, if I asked him a leading question on something, I would go back and ask, like I said, well, were the hands kind of, large with long fingers? And I would go back. So what did the hands look like again? And he would go, oh, they were short with stubby fingers. Right. Because when somebody's making something up, they don't remember. And usually an honest witness will tell you I didn't see the hands, right? But instead, they're trying to make you believe that they had seen something. So when you start getting that motive out behind you,
Right. Like the
if
guy
you
describing the Bigfoot
right,
toes that they were
right.
standing in grass.
And there's never, rarely is there an I got you moment where you say, I know you're lying, or you never say that to anybody. I never would.
Steve, check the time. We got to go.
We do.
Oh, man, we done went over.
We did. Well, we did promise one thing. And I want to tell yes, for folks who are wondering, I did go out to New Hampshire today, investigate a series of videos that were that were put up on the BFRO Facebook page. And we'll be having a lot more about that in a couple of weeks. We got to put all the material together. And, I got to say it was a good time. I'm tired tonight.
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. I was out there with one of our former guests, Crystal Panic. She was out there.
Crystal, yeah.
Yeah. And so hello to her. And I was out there with Alex Petikoff, who actually lived only about 40 minutes away from there. So Alex came out, deployed his drone for us. We'll have all kinds of fun stuff to look at,
cool.
Coming up soon. So, but anyway,
so a little excitement.
Yep.
Coming up.
A little excitement. But anyway, hey, it's been fun. So this Sunday night. Now, see, Chris doesn't have the little blue book.
Oh no.
You know what's in the little blue book? Who next week's guest is, or this Sunday's guest is. You remember who it is?
Let's see.
You should. He's a neighbor of yours.
No.
Charlie Raymond.
Who?
Charlie Raymond.
Troy?
Charlie will be on this Sunday.
Charlie. Yeah, that's right. Oh man, I thought that was next week.
No, that's this week.
Okay, well, good. It'd be good to have Charlie here.
Charlie,
he's a Kentuckian now. We kind of adopted him. I think he's originally from Florida or somewhere around in there, but that's okay. We don't hold that against him.
Yeah,
we love Florida.
Charlie Raymond will be on. Yes, that's right. I have the blue book.
Yeah.
They threw that away, as part of Project Blue Book, and I got it.
Oh man!
But that's how busy it is, folks. I now have to have a book to keep track.
Yeah.
The book is, the show is scheduled. Squatch-D TV Live is scheduled through now. Hang on. Oh. The show is now scheduled through April 14th.
Good. Charlie is going to be a good guest. Yeah. I always enjoy talking to him.
Yeah. So anyway, folks, we'll catch you all here Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern for Squatch-D TV Live, where we're going to talk to Charlie. And he's been drumming up a storm with all the interviews, recorded Bigfoot interviews. So we'll be talking about some of his interviews and his more interesting interviews and what he's got going on, because he's been a very, very busy man the last year. So anyway, folks, everybody have a great day, great week, and we'll see you in a couple of days. Everybody be safe. Here we go.